played football my whole life, loved football, played a couple other sports, but football was the main one. And, I think as a teenager, I had so much passion in the wrong way. Like I wasn't the greatest kid. I'm not very proud of some stuff I did, but I do think learning from mistakes as a younger guy, especially in high school, I use them to this day, and I think that's helped me a lot as a coach. But playing football in high school, getting recognized, going to play college at the D2 and D3 level, battling a lot of, things going through college, but coming out of it as a coach, because I did 2 Division I internships in my summers off before I graduated. So kind of set me ahead of normal kids I would just go to school with, but got a GA right out of college at Mississippi State. And then a year and a half goes by, I get a first full-time job actually at Georgia Tech. I'm 25 years old and I got my first assistant job here. Wow. So I was the head strength coach for men's golf and trained them like warriors, and we won the ACC, and it was a great time. But I was only here for a year. So I went back to Mississippi State as a full-time assistant. And I was only there for 6 more months and went to Michigan for 3 years and worked with their football team as an assistant. And then I got my first head job in North Texas, fired immediately 11 months later because we didn't win enough games. Got a head job at Louisiana Lafayette, fired 2 years later, didn't win enough games. And then Buffalo, National Strength Coach of the Year, didn't change anything I did, didn't stop believing in what I was doing. And that's probably the biggest lesson I've learned on this journey. Just, it's not going to go your way all the time. But if you fall off of who you are along the journey, there was no point of the journey. So that's what led me here.
I love that. How would you sum that up, Coach? Because I think it's a really important and inspiring thing. I heard a few things. Number one is you started with internships and then a GA position. And I love that mindset. I mentioned before we hit record some of the folks we'd had on here, and and I'm not going to make a proclamation about the modern athlete or anything like that, but folks who've gone on to achieve incredible things, like the Mike Ditkas, the Frank Beamers, these really highly accomplished coaches. It seems like almost to a person, they did some sort of volunteering internship, did it because they loved it sort of role at first. Do you think that contributed to your willingness to just sort of be consistent and stick it out until it worked?
I think if you can't do it for free, you're never going to want to do it. It's just like when I was an intern, my thought was on, it's my summer off, but like USF, the South Florida Bulls, they let me train with the team that summer. So I would be going back to school. So I had to work out anyway. I trained with the 9 a.m. group, and then I trained the last 3 as a coach. So working and to earn a reference, I just try to do a really good job for a great person. And that great person got me another internship that next summer for free. So before my senior year, I went to Virginia and worked with their football team for free. Those 2 guys that I worked for free are still 2 of the 3 biggest influences in my career. I still talk to them every month, and they have so much advice for me. And, I'm always telling them I look up to them and how thankful I am for them. And it's just like the guy I worked for 3 months, no longer than 3 months, got me my first head job.
Right.
Or got me the opportunity to sit in front of the people to win the first job. So, working for free really set me up, and I'll never look past that.
Dude, okay. So you are so good at these one-liners. It's unbelievable. Because, do a really good job for a great person. It's so succinct. It makes a lot of sense. And then I like this sort of the bit of language you added to that second part. They didn't necessarily get you the job, but this person that you did a good job for got you the opportunity to earn a job. Like those are such important concepts.
Yeah.
There's a humility there and an understanding and a thoughtfulness that I think is really good. And I'm sure you work hard to impart that to your kids.
Oh, no question. I told him the other day, you're going to walk by your equipment guy every day and expect your laundry loop to be in your locker. You're going to walk by the cafeteria ladies every day and expect that food to be served after your workout. You're going to walk by that tutor every day and expect them to help you as soon as your grades start slipping. But are you ever going to thank them Or are you just going to take it for granted? So like, I just feel like you're not ever going to find the success that you could have if you're not thankful. There's not 3 months that go by ever that I'm not writing either the longest text ever, calling, sending a book, anything I can to my mentors, you know, and just how thankful I am for them. And like, I love how people say they're self-made. It cracks me up all the time because they just feel like that gives them more credit or something. Yeah. It doesn't. You're never going to find the success you need or you want or desire one day if you don't thank the people that helped you get there.
Well, yeah, okay. You keep tapping on a couple of things that are, I couldn't agree more. I make a habit as often as I can when I'm really sort of clicking, when I feel like my daily habits, everything are clicking. I'll write thank you notes, handwritten thank you notes. Maybe they're really quick. Just, hey, thanks for everything. Seal it up, drop it in a mail, whatever. There is something about that, Coach. So one of the things that makes our approach unique at the Good Athlete Project, and I'd be happy to share, now is probably not the time to share a screen and show you our frameworks, but we have a pretty, I think it's a research-based, exciting, and most importantly, effective way of breaking down professional education, player development, stuff like that. And one of our big, what we call SEL, social emotional learning, character traits, however you want to group it, is gratitude. And it's like, no matter, like, it is such an important practice. And I'm so happy to hear you say it, because you are, I don't mean to paint a picture of you that isn't accurate, but from an outside perspective, at least, tough. You get a lot out of yourself. You get a lot out of your guys. You have high standards. You're holding them accountable, this whole deal. There's nothing soft about the Georgia Tech program. But to be able to, within that, recognize that gratitude is essential. It's not different. You know, this doesn't not make you tough, right? This doesn't somehow be, if anything, it makes you tougher. And here's what I think that, first of all, anything that's not easy to do, if you believe in why you're doing it and do it you know what I mean, especially when it's not easy, that almost by definition makes you a little tougher. So you don't want to wake up and write a letter. Okay, get over it and do it anyway. But then there's this idea, I'm sure you've heard, like grit, growth mindset. Those are all sorts of essential character capacities. I'm pretty convinced that things like that are not impossible, but far more difficult if you're not grateful. Meaning, like, why are you pushing yourself through these incredibly challenging situations that like 0.01 of the population will ever experience? Why are you putting yourself through that? Well, because some part of you is grateful for the opportunity and believes that there's a light at the end of this tunnel, right? Like, optimism is essential if you're going to really grind. And in other words, I'm just really excited to hear you say that. Gratitude is just so key.
It's huge. And like, there was teams I've been a part of where I made a gratitude calendar throughout the year. And we got 120 guys on our team. So I had, there was like 5 categories of gratitude. It's just people that do inconvenient things all year long to make their life convenient. So, but they walk by it every day and probably never say a word until it's gone, and then they blame them. So there's like 3 guys on every day of the year that they're either helping the training room, helping the equipment room, helping the cafeteria, helping, I don't know, some GAs break down film, like all these guys that do things countless hours just to help them.
Yeah.
So after the lift, all right, today we got so-and-so, you guys are going to do the laundry today to show appreciation to the equipment guys. And then you're going to put the loops in the locker after. Like, that's just, it's the most basic part of life that everyone forgets. So that was a huge one. I really enjoyed getting guys to do that.
Okay, so I'm looking at a really, I want to see the logistics behind that, because I love the spirit of it. So do you plan that ahead? Like, do you say, hey, whatever, this position group, make sure that you got an hour free after lift, and we might have something for you? Or how do you make sure that that's doable?
Yeah, so I'll just make sure, like, if the position groups I split up during the week, I'll make sure it rotates every day, a different group. So like, it's 3 guys a day, but once your day's done, it's kind of, you're done. So I just need to know one day that they're clear, and then it'll work. So that's kind of how I did it.
I like that. So like, hypothetic, like Tuesdays, linebackers, make sure you got an hour after the lift.
Yeah.
And I think that's really I think it's a really cool idea. I'm like scanning my room right now, seeing where I have space for a gratitude calendar. I think it makes a lot of sense. So the other thing from your initial comments that was so interesting to me was you mentioned you had these short stints, like hired, fired, only a couple months, probably hadn't even fully unpacked yet, a couple times. And then all of a sudden, without changing who you were or how you did it necessarily, all of a sudden you're coach of the year.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. How do you have so much trust in where you're coming from in that process? Where was that built?
So, man, where was it built? I think the way I work out on my own, and I think my playing career kind of put that mindset in me, but just the purpose that I have in my heart of I want to help people. And I feel like the way I do things in the weight room, it gives me the ultimate platform to do that. So I just know for a fact that I am doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And when I believe that so much, no one's going to fire me and say I can't do it anymore. And it got to a point after the second time I got fired where that one really hurt. It was like self-check time and reality time, because my wife was like, what are we doing? Like, why are we? I don't like, I understand you love it, but like, it doesn't love you back, and you're doing everything you can, but if they don't win, what you do doesn't matter.
Right.
So why do you want to do it? It's because I'm supposed to be doing it. And however, or wherever that is, that doesn't matter to me, and yeah, my wife is an absolute saint for following me around to 9 different schools. But like, that year, Buffalo, I really felt like it could have been the end because of my family. They couldn't, they were getting to a breaking point. And for them to even take a chance on a 2-time fired head strength coach on a blind interview where I didn't know any of them, they just gave me a shot because the first head job I had, that head coach knew him and called for me and said, look, I know the wins don't add up in his favor, but you got a program changer here. So just think about it. And he gave me a shot to interview. And I knew once I went on the interview, if they weren't going to hire me, it wasn't going to be because I didn't give everything to them in my heart that has every bit of purpose in me. So I would make sure they felt that before I left campus. And if I didn't get the job, it was what it was. But I had no regrets, and I ended up getting it. And that team was so ready to win. They were so starving because they went 6-6. They tasted a little success that they haven't had before, and they got left out of the bowl predictions. They didn't get picked. So here I am, coming off 2 times being fired. Here they come, feeling disrespected with a great senior class. And when we met, it's hard to explain, and sometimes it gets emotional because I love those kids so much, but it just clicked and everything worked, and those coaches trusted me, and here I am today.
It's amazing. And so how did the back end of that Buffalo season, how did that look? You guys made a bowl game that year?
Yeah, we won 10 games and broke every season record and almost made the top 25. And we didn't end the way we wanted. We got a heartbreaking loss in the last second of a MAC championship, but I look at it as a complete success of the whole year. So
that's amazing. The approach that you're talking about it's like true on a very fundamental level. Like if you know yourself, if you believe in what you're doing, and man, I don't know how many people are quite as lucky as you are to be able to say like, this is what am supposed to do. But I would guess though, that of all the professionals in the world, there's a higher percentage of coaches who are saying that than folks at desk jobs. So maybe it's not as unique as one might think. But anyway, so you're in the right place. You believe in what you're doing, and this logic around, hey, this is me. It's not a matter of whether what I'm doing is right, but if it's essentially the right fit for me, is someone willing to take a shot on me. I think that that makes complete sense. I just think it sounds a lot harder if like if I'm sitting here in Chicago taking that logic from interview to interview. That's different than having to jump across the country potentially and move your family and all that kind of stuff. So it takes some guts to do that. Had that not worked out, this is a two-part question. What do you think you would have gone to do? And put a little ask. And what from being a strength coach would have helped you do that better?
I think I would have ended up being an assistant somewhere. Like I think I had other options to be an assistant, possibly
You would
somewhere.
not. There's no chance you were leaving the field.
I just don't think I could have. Yeah, like I sure I could go home and to Tampa and try to open my own gym, but that's kind of scary, and I'm not the best business guy, and I don't really know too much about all that. But that was the only other option. You know, I love speaking, but like, who am I to speak? You know, at that point, so it was kind of scary. You know, I didn't really have. That's probably why there was no other option, because the only reason we would move home is just to be by our parents.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have like this is what I got to do if this is going to work out, and it's going to work out. That was my option. So,
all right,
yeah.
let me try to reframe the question then. It's just not an option. Strength coaching as a job, it doesn't exist, public or private. If you had to go to another field, just as a thought exercise, and what do you think it would be? What do you, or maybe I'll reframe it completely. The skills that you've picked up in this world, where do you think they might transfer best? You can cheat and say everywhere.
I mean, yeah, the skills transfer any job, but
yeah,
I don't know. Strength coaching, maybe not, but like, I don't know. I'd probably be like a PE teacher or something and just annihilate people in dodgeball all day and just have fun with them and have them compete and stuff. But that was my other option before I started this field.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know what I'm hearing that's so interesting from that is I'm trying to get you out of this world and you just can't do it. I love how directed you are, how clear it is to you that this is the purpose. I think that's amazing. It occurs to me, there's another thing that we talk about when we consult schools primarily. And that I think you're tapping on it. And that is like this recognition that every human being is embodied, and to sort of deny the physical self is denying like perhaps one of the most essential components of being human. Right. In fact, there's one of the researchers we had on the podcast. Her name's Lisa Feldman Barrett. She's wonderful. I bring her up like more often than anybody else. She's episode 42. She wrote a book, How Emotions Are Made. She's like a straight up genius. And she reminds me at least in the episode that like we did not evolve. Our brains didn't evolve for us to think and feel and see and debate philosophy and all these sort of high level things. They evolved so that we could move our body well. And you think about like, way back in the day, that means like, find sustenance, replicate, find safety. It's super basic. And only once we were able to procure those things, like do all of that well, could we start adding on to it, start thinking about complex relationships, imagining the future, complex ideas, like all that kind of stuff. But you, it's clear, are very much embodied. And I love that image of you just wiping out a high school gym class in dodgeball. I think that is an amazing image.
Well, that's what I did before I started. So I was a teen camp counselor at the YMCA. That's where I met my wife.
Get out of here.
I almost got fired on the first day because I hit a kid too hard in dodgeball and his braces got stuck to his lip and he was crying. So, but no, yeah, that's where I met my wife. And I just love just working with people and,
yeah,
so I don't know another job.
I believe it. Okay. So let me flip the question again, because you are, and here's the thing, there's a reason you're at the top of the field in the field that you're in. And it's because that's your field. So but what are some of the things that you give to players? Say your players are not going to go on to the same world, what are some of the character strengths, like the true like life lessons that you try to give to them so they can go on and be successful?
Everything. Every day is a different message. So like every mistake I've ever made, I share with the team. Every flaw that I have, I share with the team. Every doubt that I've ever had as a player, I share with the team. Like everything that I've lived through, I try to help them with at the end of the day. Doesn't matter if it's a run or a lift. And it turns into just a quick education service of perspective, wisdom, motivation, inspiration, whatever it is. But that's the niche in this whole field for me. Because like, that's the platform that it gives me to really get to them. Like, I don't like getting them stronger. That's cool, man. But like helping them become a man, that's much cooler. And those are the texts that you look forward to one day that you don't know are coming. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things, just giving these kids stuff that you've lived through to give them global perspective and not just keep tunnel vision before them. Whether they're in business, whether they're going to engineer, doesn't matter. Any interview that you're on, they're going to have to feel your discipline, your effort, your want, your desire, the heart that you have, the ability to bounce back. Like all this stuff is just, it has to be in you, or what you're capable of doesn't really matter.
I love that. So yeah, and we think about it the same way. We've got this concept, we call it Beyond Strength, and it's pretty straightforward. I'll probably share an article or two with you when we jump off this, but that's what it is. You use the word platform. It's like, yeah, it's an educational platform that we have, and that I think I heard you talk about passion and resilience and consistency, and then what does that do? Well, it lets you, like, whatever you've got shine. I think that's I think that really is our job. There's probably not a lot of guys coming into your weight room at Georgia Tech that aren't pretty bright, that aren't pretty darn good at sports, that aren't willing to work hard, all that kind of stuff. So, but they're still a work in progress. I think back to when I was in college, you'd probably say the same. I was a small school football player like yourself. Like I was big, but I was a kid, pretty much. So I still needed, I was starting to form, some ideas were starting to crystallize, but I needed guidance in for sure. And
and it's stuff like I try to tell the guys in different ways, different, like the general messages, but like in different packages and how I word it. And sometimes you got to go a different route to hit someone different. So like,
no doubt,
I always try to tell them, if they want to go to the NFL, they're going to get looked at as an investment. And if I'm going to invest in a car, well, you're going to have to show me the Carfax. And if I don't see if I see a bunch of red flags on that list, I'm not investing. I'm just going to go with the other one. It's the same thing if you're a defensive end. Like, there's no difference if a guy at Clemson doesn't have red flags and you do, but the same talent, I'm going with Clemson. And it's just like a scratch on a car. It prevents you from buying it. And a crack in a ship this big sinks the whole. It's like I could just,
I do know, and I love that stuff. The crack in the ship. Okay, so what's one of those morals, adages, stories that you've used recently that you're pumped about?
Like just a message in general?
Yeah.
Just about respect. Like the other day I was just like, the greatest gift someone can give you is their respect.
Yeah.
And it's the hardest thing to earn. That's why it's the greatest gift, because no one wants to hear someone just speak. Like, what did you do to speak? Like, why are you talking to me? Like, that's the number one question everyone wants to ask themselves if someone's barking orders at them. So if you're going to tell a guy to not bend over, you better never bend over yourself.
Yeah.
If you're going to tell a kid to live right on the weekend, you better live right yourself. You want a team full of tough guys, you better be tough. Like, and that's for players and coaches. So like, I'm gonna stand up here and preach about stuff, and if I don't feel exactly what you just felt before you felt it, I'm a hypocrite.
Right.
So I gotta try to just keep earning that respect every day from the kids, and it never ends. The next day, it's another day to earn respect or lose it.
That's right. I love that. If you're going to tell a kid to live right, live right. That's a pretty good way to start it off. I think that's so smart. And I'll tell you that there are two things that you just mentioned that came from a meeting that I had 2 days ago, probably. One of them was this proof of concept idea. We talked about like trust, and we didn't use the word respect, but we were sure like referencing it, similar idea. Do they trust us enough to follow us and not just sort of do what they're told, but sort of want to be around us and all that. And proof of concept was something that kept coming up, because it's like, it would be nice if they just sort of believed in our experience and our message, but that's not how human beings work. Like, you mentioned Carfax, free plug. I hope they throw our nonprofit a couple bucks. Carfax. But like, BMW's they're not saying just trust us. That's not their, they're like, let's perform. Let's show proof of concept, and that will help our sort of model here. And the other thing that you mentioned is like, and it doesn't stop, and we talk about the psychological. It's so similar to the body, mind and body. It's a psychological fitness for doing it right routinely, and not thinking that one day you got it. Like, it's not, like I said, you're so good at the one-liners and the messages. One-liner is cheapening it, but you're so good at like making the message digestible. But that's it. It's not like you say one cool thing and then boom, the kids are fine. That's your career. Good. Like, you're constantly evolving. You might have to package, like you say, that same message in a different way for the other kid who didn't quite hear it the first time around. Developing a fitness for that from a coaching perspective is key. I mean, would you agree with that? Does that seem true to you?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just like, every day there, I write the list. There's a box at the bottom for the message of the day. Yeah. And, a lot of times from me, but like, that's how I develop my staff too. Get them in front of the guys, get help, like let them speak from their heart and see where it goes. And it's nice to hear from someone else. They say sometimes like the greatest experts are the people from out of town that say the same thing as you.
Right.
It's
right.
But where I'm going with it is the respecting. Yeah. Like, I got a picture of an empty fridge on my wall because it's empty every day. It's your job at the end of the day. That thing needs to be full by who you added value to, by the people that you tried to help, all the positive things that you tried to do during your day. Hopefully that fridge isn't empty anymore.
Yeah.
But the next day it's empty.
Yeah.
It's just like potential. You wake up, that thing's empty. You go into bed at what, 90, not 80, 60? Like, what'd you hit that day with your potential? So I think it's all how you word it. It's all how you make them think about things.
I'm gonna keep that one. What % of your potential did you hit today? I love those, because it's like, you're not even calling somebody out necessarily. What you're doing, you're forcing almost self-awareness, and that's the idea. It's not like maybe kid's not lazy. Maybe that really is all he had today. But if he's at 90% plus of his potential, then whatever, then it's going to grow. Then he'll grow. And 2 years later, you're looking at a different person. But only at some point, only he can answer that, he or she, depending on the case.
I always go back to the phone charge example for the kids. I'm like, 80%, it says sufficiently charged. And if that says it, and I don't look at the bar, I'm taking it off the charger. 80% though is all it's at. So a lot of times we go to bed and we think we did enough that day when we feel good about it. But someone else is going a lot further than that sufficient level. Mm-hmm. They're doing a lot more and they're hitting that 100.
Yeah.
And that, so I just think there's so many messages, but that's definitely one to make sure you realize that you have more to give.
I love that approach. And that's, so I'll just share, we use that one because we sometimes, we do youth, high school, college, and pro. We've got like all sorts of levels. And kind of like what you're alluding to, it's tool selection. The message is similar. How you deliver it matters. And by level, I think it matters. So when we get some of these high school kids who don't really know how to push yet, we use that phone metaphor, but we do it on the back end. We're like, you're going to start getting signals. You know what I mean? You see the battery down, your body's going to start sending you signals to shut it down and recharge way before that thing is drained. You know what I mean? And and if it's a bright enough group, we talk about like, you know, why that is, like the priority one from the human body, get to the next day. You know, you got to send it, but you got to test it sometimes, you know, and we're certainly not talking about doing something dangerous. That's obviously not what we're saying, but like you get to 40%, that seems low on the battery thing. Well, you pass, okay, but you got 40% left in the tank, and all this next task requires is maybe 5% of that.
Yep.
You gave up because you got the whatever, the alert going off. But framed it for the kids. And it's just, I like the tech stuff. Now I'm not amazing at the tech stuff, but that's obviously something that they can all identify with.
Yeah.
All right. Last question, Coach. I don't want to keep you all day. I'm sure you got to get to a lift or a dodgeball game or something like that. You say, here's what how I'll phrase it. How have you seen athletes evolve over the years? And there was this one, when I first reached out to you, I saw this idea that, I don't know if it was the week I was having or what, but it resonated with me so much. And it was something along the lines of, and you'll have to correct me if I'm off here, but something along the lines of essentially like how people want accolade or reassurance first. And again, maybe I'm just kind of reinterpreting from my scene, but like, you want this before you'll go, when the truth is you have to work to get the accolade. You know what I mean? Like we're almost inverting it. Like you need the encouragement, you know, the balance is off. Does that sound right? Am I hearing that right? One of them?
Yeah. I mean, there's two things I think of when I hear you say that, like when people do a little work, they really feel like they should win. And that, like, doing the bare minimum is what people think they do to win. So I just say lazy people do a little work and think they should be winning, and then winners work as hard as possible and still worry if they're being lazy. And that's the biggest difference in people. Like the ones that stay on the top, they're the ones always paranoid about being outworked. They're the ones always paranoid about not reaching their own potential. Forget everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody knows that I'm running at 4 a.m. Like it's dark. Like no one sees anything. No one knows it but me. So I'm not gonna, like, I've never stopped running or lifting since I've stopped playing football. Like it's been in me and it has never stopped. I can't take more than 2 or 3 days off without feeling completely different. And I can't stand it.
Yeah.
So, I get frustrated when guys think they can take 2 weeks off,
right,
and just be fine and just come back and start, so that's kind of where that comes from. And then also I think there's a thing where, like, champions sprint when the distance is unknown. And there's so many times where all people just want to know what's coming. Hey, coach, what do we got for the run today? Like, hey, how many half gassers we got today? Like, that's not life, man. Like, you have no idea what's coming. Yeah. You just got to be ready, and you can't have fear. And if you do, good. You got to change that into confidence. The only way you do that is go. You got to go, and you can't look back. You got to run. And when the whistle blows, the whistle blows. But like we did that today. Again, we do it every Thursday, but it's called get the yards. I'm going to blow the whistle at some point. You don't know when that is. You run 100 yards and back until it blows, and you try to win. And some guys fear it, and some guys kill it.
It's really good. Here's what I would add to that, though. Just because it's also clear that that's not natural for people. It's a learned thing. That not only are you and your staff teaching that, sharing the values and creating real world sort of embodied opportunities to learn that sort of life lesson, but man, like they got to trust you, right? They got to trust that kind of goes back to your earlier message. Like they got to trust and respect you that you're not going to do this over and over until they're done. You're going to do it at an appropriate level to push their thresholds, to get them to the next level of themselves. And within your sort of trusting, intentionally cultivated environment, you can learn those lessons that are just crazy powerful.
Yeah. And most of the time, before we do that, I'll tell them how many yards I got in this amount of time, that morning. So like they already know I do it before them. And that kind of helps their mindset a little bit, but yeah.
It does. I said that was the last question. It's not. This is the last question. Because I've had this conversation sort of behind the scenes with a lot of people. Now I'm going to have it sort of in front. It's not as provocative, I think, as it sounds, but with that idea that like you want trust that the person knows kind of what they're putting someone through. And I think especially in sports, especially in strength and conditioning, that sort of firsthand understanding matters. Would you ever hire someone who didn't do that? Say they had like incredible, they were high level intellectual, they understood it, but they maybe once upon a time they did it, but they don't remember what it feels like to run 100 yards at the top clip and feel that pain in the heavy legs.
Yeah, like the 3 assistants I have don't do the team's workout every day before that. You know what I mean? Like they'll jump in when I make them jump in on Fridays or something, like when the whole team's in here at once. But no, I mean they train a certain way, and I'm good with that. Now, like there's some assistants just do it naturally because they just want to, because I'm doing it. But no, there's no pressure. There's no thought on hiring someone that can't or wants to do that or anything. I just want to know, are they a good person? Do they care about the kids? Can you sniff any laziness in them? Can you feel their want to be a head strength coach one day? I think that's the most important part. Like everyone's certified. That doesn't mean anything anymore. So it just qualifies you and it puts you in a boat of 1 million people. But who are you? How, like, can I trust you? Like I got work to get done and I got a lot of stuff to divvy off, and I got to feel good and comfortable with you taking some of that off.
Yeah.
And sometimes I hire guys I never meet in person. I can tell instantly on the phone from a reference, of course, but like,
sure.
I'm like, yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Do you, you mentioned something, do you prioritize folks who are explicit about the idea that they want to run their own program someday?
Yeah, I think you'll show more laziness if that's not in you. And I think you'll be the last one to work every day. And I think you'll be the first one to leave. And I think other things will be priority number one all the time in your life, besides what we really want to get done here. And then the development piece from my end, I wouldn't feel like I'm really serving a purpose with a staff if I don't have a guy that really wants to make it one day.
Yeah.
So I think developing them is a lot of fun for me. And I want to make sure they are aligned with where I can try to get them one day.
I love that idea. So it sounds like staff development is a huge part of what you all do as well.
Yeah. Giving them the floor, bringing value every week to a staff meeting, helping our interns. We got a great intern program. But yeah, huge.
I love it. All right. Well, Coach, I think those are the basic questions I got for you today. My man, Alex Nadalny, he's our podcast editor. One of the questions, we used to have a lightning round. He's quarantine has limited that just a little bit, but here's the one takeaway from the lightning round that lets people be nostalgic. What was the first concert you ever went to?
I think Tom Petty.
Tom Petty.
Yeah.
So right over there is a guitar. I was just playing the song Walls. You ever heard that one? You know that one?
I think so. Yeah. He's got so
many
though.
Yeah. He's got like Tons of classics. Okay, how old were you when you first saw him?
19. Yeah.
19. I love it.
Yep.
Well, there it is. Alex, I hope that serves, if you're listening to this and editing, I hope that serves a sufficient lightning round. Lou, thank you so much, man. I appreciate all that you do. We're constantly on the lookout for folks like you who are truly like sort of living the mantra, maximizing the potential of athletics as education, going beyond strength and helping young people to whatever it is they want to do. Like you said, for some of them, it's the NFL, and for some of them, most of them, it's some other walk of life. But it sounds like if they come through your program, they're going to be prepared. So
no, I appreciate that very much, and I appreciate you reaching out. It means a lot, and appreciate what you're doing too. Like, you're awesome at speaking. You got a whole system going now, you're helping a lot of people. So I'm just thankful for you too.
I appreciate it.